Hello everyone, my name is Kevin Johnson and I'm going to talk to you today about workplace violence, in particular an active shooter situation at the workplace. This has been a big issue coming up in the last couple of years and has happened quite frequently often and is a big issue politically with the Second Amendment. OSHA doesn't have any regulations for workplace violence, but they do have a lot of information for your use and for you to read to be able to be ready. The objectives, I'm going to give you just an overview of the active shooter situations. I'm going to talk to you about a very familiar case study that happened recently, give you some stats and study conducted by the FBI, and I'm going to give you ways to mitigate these risks at work for an active shooter and tips on how to be ready as well as you can for a scenario and have your employees ready as well. Earlier this past December in San Bernardino, California at the Inland Regional Center, the health department was having a training event / holiday party of about 80 people. Out of nowhere at random, one of their health department employees and his wife came in there, started shooting the place up, ended up affecting a lot of people. The incident only lasted 3 or 4 minutes, but they got about 75 bullets off, actually planted a few bombs that luckily didn't go off. But in just those 3 or 4 minutes, 14 people died and 22 more were seriously injured. And it goes to show you how many people can be affected and how quick these things can last. So being ready is important. The FBI conducted a study from 2010 to 2014 and found that most commercial businesses were the most likely places for an active shooter, and more than half of them were open to the public to walk around. Work days were the most popular times, and in places that weren't open to the public, almost every one of them was with an employee. This is part of that study, and this is just a general information of the worst, highest casualty rates: the elementary school in Connecticut, Fort Hood shooting, the Virginia Tech shooting, and the terrible theater shooting in Colorado that happened with 70 casualties. These are the worst of the last 15 years. This is showing you workplace homicides by industry, and as you see, retail trade is way above everybody else, but leisure, hospitality, government, transportation, warehousing, and professional and business services are not that far behind. Either way, that's still just too many, and we need to try to find a way to get that down, but it shows you that this can happen in any industry. There's a lot of ways you can mitigate these risks and have your employees ready, using communication, evacuation procedures, noticing threat factors and being able to identify threats, having an emergency action plan, and the responsibilities of yourself as the manager and as a safety person in the workplace to be able to be ready for these situations. Plan is very important. Have a good communication setup with your employees. Have them be able to have a clear strategy to communicate with each other, with customers, with security, maybe have speed dial on their phones for whenever these situations happen, so they know and they're trained and ready to go and know how to get with each other and warn everybody for when they need to escape. Have evacuation and or lockdown. Tell them strategies. Have at least 2 evacuation routes with a meeting location and a method for accounting for employees, sort of like we're all used to when we grew up doing fire drills in elementary and middle school. If they can't get out, make sure they know what the safe room shelters are and the safest spots in your employee workplace. Look for threat factors with your employees and or your customers. Notice if they're missing days, if they seem depressed, if they seem like they're maybe using drugs and alcohol, if they're being resistant, just having crazy mood swings, they're not being themselves. These are all different threat factors and signs to look to that could be warning signs for it. Also, problems at home, financial problems at home or at work. If they're having increased talk of firearms or weapons, or if they just act like they started to purchase some, if they're being paranoid or suicidal, having an everybody's against me attitude, these are things and warning signs of possible people who could come in and cause some sort of workplace violence. Identify threats in the workplace as well with multiple employees and customers, with arguments and fighting. If people are running around, whether it's a customer or an employee or anybody, with hostile attitudes. And a big one to look at is people who have just recently been fired. Emotions are running high, they don't know what to do. Sometimes they'll be the ones. Have a good way, once again, of identifying these threats. Empower your employees to report the behavior. Have something sort of like a suggestion box where they can do it secretly without having to worry about anybody saying anything, and check these complaints daily and act as immediately as you can. It's very important that you act as quick as you can, because you never know when something like this could happen. Have an emergency action plan. Create one for your workplace. Give the employees a copy, and use outside resources that you can. Law enforcement will be more than happy to come in one day, give an assessment of your workplace, and give you ideas. Look for different security cameras, alarm systems, maybe even hire security guards or extra security guards. Have statistics, and tell your employees about the liability issues. Something as simple as that may even prevent them from doing anything. Have a response team set up. Describe the action plan for responding to threats, and maybe even require immediate reporting rather than give that as an option if anybody knows of a potential threat. As a manager, have it maybe access controls to your facility with keys or security codes and distribute them out. Have floor plans and telephone numbers all over the office and the hallways. Even maybe have removable ones inside and outside for the emergency responders so that they know where they're going and know how to navigate. Have a crisis kit, first aid kit on each floor. Once again, working with the law. Know what to expect when they're coming in. Have your employees know what to expect. Their first priority is to eliminate the threat, not to help the injured. They want to prevent more people from being injured, so it's important that you stay out of the way and you remain as calm as possible. And you may have to remain on site while they're investigating. Follow their instructions. Don't run to them full speed, flailing with bags or books or anything in your hand. They may get confused and may react in a way that you wouldn't want them to. So it's a tough situation. You're going to have a lot of adrenaline, but it's important that they remain as calm as possible and avoid pointing, screaming, yelling. In conclusion, run, hide, fight. This is a simple thing that gets passed around all over the nation. Easy way for your employees to remember. Escape if you can, hide if you can't, and only fight as a last resort if it's the last thing that you can do. Thank you so much. I hope this helped. And remember, workplace violence can be stopped. Thank you.